That's great.
Yes. So with your permission, can we begin?
Please.
Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Nigam has not joined us, I guess.
No, sir. Sir has been there here.
Is there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nigam sir is there.
Morning, Dr. Nigam.
Sir, you're on mute.
You will have to probably again unmute him.
Sudesh, I'll just do it. I'll do it.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Justice Suraj.
Morning, Dr. Nigam.
Good morning, sir.
Very nice to see all of you. Very nice to see you, Justice Suraj.
Likewise. Yes, Dr. Anita.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good morning to everyone. A warm welcome to one and all for the online panel discussion on online safety of children's issues and concerns on today on the occasion of Children's Day, November 14, 2021. Center for Women and Child Welfare Policy, Ramaiah College of Law, Bangalore, in association with Advanced Center for Research, Development and Training in Cyber Law and Forensics, NLSIU, Bangalore. Now, without any further ado, now I request our beloved principal, Dr. Om Prakash, to welcome the gathering.
Thank you, Anita. A very good morning to all the esteemed dignitaries and dear participants. On a Sunday morning with the changed weather conditions, I'm happy that Ramaiah College of Law, Center for Women and Child Welfare Policy in association with National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, Center for Research, Development and Training in Cyber Laws and Forensics, NLSIU, is celebrating Children's Day, 14 November, today by jointly organizing an online panel discussion on online safety of children, issues and concerns. This topic, owing to the pandemic situation where with all children, school-going children using tabs today, laptops to attend online classes, is a very topic to be chosen. I congratulate the organizers for this. First of all, we are honored and privileged to have with us Honorable Justice Suraj Govindraj, Judge High Court of Karnataka, Bangalore. His Lordship is alumnus of the National Law School of India, University, and got enrolled as an advocate on 23rd June 1995. I was still in my 9th standard, if I recall, the year when I got enrolled as an advocate. He has practiced in the field of civil, commercial litigation, contracts, property law, arbitration, company law, intellectual property rights, constitution matters, debt recovery, environmental law, revenue matters under local land laws, consumer law, RERA, etc. His Lordship was appointed as additional judge of the High Court of Karnataka and took oath on 23rd September 2019 and was made permanent judge on 1st March 2021. Sir, your expertise in the field of constitutional law will be an added advantage to give a constitutional dimension to the topic as well. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of Ramaiah College of Law, sir.
Thank you.
We have with us Dr. Nigam Nukehalli, Registrar, National Law School of India, University. Sir, we are honored and privileged to have you with us. Sir is also an alumni of the National Law School of India, University. He is continuing as a registrar right now. Sir, I welcome you to this online panel discussion, sir. We have distinguished panelists for today's program, and I was looking into the biodata of all the resource persons. All the panelists are highly meritorious, have received gold medals, are recipient of various international state awards as well. In this regard, the first panelist, I welcome Dr. Nagaratna ma'am, Associate Professor, Advanced Center for Research, Development and Training in Cyber Laws and Forensics, NLSIU, Bangalore. Madam is associated with Ramaiah College of Law from almost 7 years as resource person in various programs of the institution. Ma'am, I welcome you on behalf of the institution. Yeah. The second panelist we have today is Mr. Arvind Des, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Tirupur City, Tamil Nadu. His biodata speaks for his commitment in discharge of his duties. I am happy that being a police personnel, he will throw light on investigation related to on today's topic. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of Ramaiah College of Law. The next panelist, I am Mr. Vineet Kumar, Founder and President, Cyber Peace Foundation, New Delhi. He is an alumni of prestigious Cambridge University, UK. He is also a recipient of international, national, and state awards. We are really honored and privileged to have you with us as panelists for today's program. Since the time allotted to me was just 5 minutes, I have not taken much strain in going through each of the biodata in detail, but I hope my colleagues will definitely introduce you before the panel discussion starts. I welcome you, sir, to today's program. We have with us Professor Dr. Rose Varghese, our Director Academics, Ramaiah College of Law, who was a former Vice Chancellor of New York's, Kochi, who is also there, who will be rendering the introductory address. Ma'am, I welcome you to today's program. I also welcome my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Anita Patil, Shweta Kumari, who have taken this initiative in organizing today's program. I also welcome all the participants, faculties for today's program. Wish this program becomes success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request our beloved Director Academics, Professor Dr. Rose Varghese, who is our Director in RCL, as well as the former Vice Chancellor of Nuance, Kochi. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
A warm welcome to each of you on Children's Day. You're all children of your beloved parents who have brought you up to this level. I'm particularly remembering our chief guest for the day, Mr. Honorable Justice Suraj Govindaraj, who has been elevated to this position at such a young age. I'm sure you will remember your parents today, just as much as Dr. Nigam, who is also an alumni of NLSIU. When I was Vice Chancellor at National Law School, Kochi, I used to tell my registrar that you definitely have much more of an onerous task than the Vice Chancellor. So we're proud of our two alumni of National Law School who are here. The other panelists have so much of expertise in the subject that we are actually looking forward to hear them. Mr. Vineet Kumar, founder and president, Cyber Peace Foundation. Mr. Aravind, who is Deputy Commissioner of Police at Tamil Nadu. We're so thankful, in fact, to Dr. Nagaratna for getting them in our midst, because it's just the right people who are going to speak on the issue. Of course, I'm thankful to our principal and our faculty coordinators, particularly Dr. Anita A. Patil and Shweta Kumari, who have been leading who have been coordinating the Center for Women and Child Policy. At RCL, we have actually set up several centers of learning, one of which is the Center for Women and Child Welfare Policy. Today being Children's Day, simultaneously, we are having an essay writing competition going on, which is on child abuse, and asking students to respond to how to address the issue of child abuse. Well, coming to today's topic, today technology has advanced beyond bounds. A situation has arisen, which you will all agree, where it is inevitable that we depend on technology for our day-to-day life. It's just inevitable. It's just that we cannot do without it. We would all admit this fact. The panelists today would discuss cyberspace and more so how to address the security issues. When technology has become an integral part of our lives, and we say that it's inevitable, we cannot do without it, there's no question of we discussing to do away with this wonderful technology, internet and Wi-Fi, all these facilities. But I'm concerned about the values and the value system. Being a professor of criminal law and criminology, I often think of the same thing. We are desperately working on how to address the issue of crimes. We have the criminal justice administration in place. We have the police, an efficient police system. who are struggling to bring about the guilt of the accused. We have the police system, we have the prosecutorial system, the expert evidence, forensic science, the judiciary, who all contribute to bring about justice in society. Similarly, like I'm drawing a parallel with criminal law, when we are struggling to address the issue of crimes, I often think how we could spend some time on working on how to control crimes. To detect crime is after it is committed. But what do we do? What are the various measures which we should take up to control crime? Similarly, when we're talking of cyber security and cyber threats, what best should we do to educate masses to refrain from indulging in these atrocious activities, particularly targeting the young children? I'm happy that in the earlier discussion, Justice Suraj has already mentioned this aspect, saying that we should start by discussing this matter with young children, like how we should focus on preventing crime rather than addressing the issue after it is committed. What best should we do to address the issue of imbibing values in young children? And Honorable Justice Suraj just mentioned that actually we should educate young children to go to schools. My 2-year-old grandson wants the mobile always, or wants to get into YouTube, and we try to restrict him. So he is right when he says that we should address young children today, starting even, I would say even earlier than the 6th standard, to sort of, yeah, but yes, only up until then, they wouldn't really comprehend what we are trying to say. To address this issue and to imbibe values, a value system is very important. And then only can we later go to the issue of how to address cyber crimes. Well, we have such experts in this subject that I wouldn't venture to go deep into the subject. But yes, cyber crimes. We hear of so much, I mean, there's so much of terminology now. Until 1995, if Dr. Nigam would ask me to spell phishing, I would say F-I-S-H-I-N-G. Because we sometimes fish for catching fish, or we fish for compliments. I would say, yes, I'm fishing for a compliment. But today, I would say maybe the first reported case of phishing was in 1995, if I'm not mistaken, I may be corrected, where it is P-H-I-S-I-N-G. And I think officially 1983 was when internet was born. But it was around 1995 when internet was publicly available in India. Again, subject to correction from the experts here. But again, going back to terminologies, I don't want to delve into the subject because I'm no one to talk on the subject when I look at our resource person sitting here, Mr. Vineet Kumar, founder and president of Cyber Peace Foundation, and none other than a police deputy commissioner of police with us, while teaching criminal law students, while teaching criminology, penology. I tell them, you have just no idea about the onerous task vested with the police in our country. People are very quick at criticizing the criminal justice system and asking why is there an acquittal? What are the police doing? I tell my students, you should not tell us. You cannot imagine the onerous task vested with them. So in this subject also, I'm sure you're all caught day in and day out with alarming reports of the various kinds of cyber crimes happening. The terminologies, I was hearing some of them for the first time just recently. Hacking. Suddenly one day we got a whole lot of phone calls from friends asking my husband, Dr. Rajan Verghese, that, are you in need of some money? So he said, why? What's happening? Apparently, someone hacked his email And the message says, an aunt of mine is severely injured. Kindly just send whatever you can. Send me some money, whatever is possible from your end. But I think the person was pretty foolish, because nobody is just going to send someone money reading this. Almost everyone who read it, half of them or 95% of them knew this is hacking. Whereas some of them did tell us, better quickly change your password. So this is to a professor, he's director of doctoral studies and at Alliance University, trying it out with, if they're trying it out with seniors, you can imagine how children today who spend, I think even, I would say 18 hours of a day in front of the laptop or the mobile or YouTube and all the technological facilities available. We hear of hacking, we hear of viruses, or malicious software. I was surprised to hear the expression malware, malicious software, identity theft. For all these, and when I speak of phishing, I was surprised to see there's something called catfishing, where the spelling is F-I-S-H-I-N-G, a deceptive activity where a person creates a fictional persona or fake identity on a social networking service, usually targeting a specific victim. These are things which, we wouldn't have thought of years back. When we talk of addressing internet safety, we are cautioned that it is there forever. We are cautioned not to put personal information online. Our emails, phone numbers, and addresses should not be available. Our smartphone safety, never to accept unknown calls. Never. It's just like we tell our children, don't take lifts from taxis or cars which offer the lift if you don't know the person. Similarly, when we get hacked, we have to immediately change the password. Now, all this, I'm wondering how quick children would be to respond to it. By the time they respond to it, it would be too late. So therefore, I'm so happy myself that our center, and I know even National Law School's center in this regard, gives a lot of attention to this issue of cybersecurity, and particularly on Children's Day. I think it is a right topic to debate upon, and I wouldn't venture to take the time of the experts in the subject. Over to the experts, a warm welcome from my side. I'm extremely thankful to each and every one of you for having accepted our humble invitation. Honorable Justice Suraj Govindaraj, I should tell you that with the first phone call, he picked up the call, though he didn't know it's from me. I don't think he had my number saved, but he did pick up the call. And when I told him to inaugurate today's program, he immediately responded. He himself sent me his email ID, and I'm very thankful to him. And Dr. Nigam, amidst all your work, we are really thankful to you for being here with us. And the experts today, I'm anxiously awaiting to hear you. Once again, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your introductory remarks. Now the most awaited moment is here. Now I request for the inaugural address by our Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Suraj Govindaraj, Judge, High Court of Karnataka, Bengaluru, to address the gathering, sir.
Good morning, everybody. As Dr. Roseberg said, we are children of our parents. But I would just go a step further and say I'm still a child. So from the child in me to a child in all of you, a very good morning. We can be misled. We are children at heart, and we need to be children at heart. Dr. Roseberg is Director Academics, Dr. Om Prakash, Principal, Ramaiah College of Law, Dr. Nigam Nugyali, Registrar, National Law School of India University, Professor Dr. Nagratna, Associate Professor and Coordinator, Advanced Center for Research Development and Training in Cyber Laws and Forensics, National Law School of India University, Mr. Arvind S., Deputy Commissioner of Police, Tirupur, Tamil Nadu, Mr. Vineet Kumar, Founder and President, Cyber Peace Foundation, New Delhi, Dr. Anita Patil, Ms. Shweta Kumari, and all the organizers of this function who have brought it together. Today being Children's Day, the topic which has been chosen by the organizers could not have been more apt. We generally speak of a lot of things, but today in this world, which has gone online post the pandemic, the online threats and online safety of children is of paramount importance because most of the children are not on the street today. Today they are online. So today what we need to address is the online safety of children. Dr. Rose Verghese was my professor at National Law School of India University. My generation, as also our generation, has seen tremendous strides in technology. However, we did not face the many hurdles and many threats that are faced by the children today. We started with a radio, a rotary telephone. We did not even have the press button telephone, black and white television for some of us. But now all of us are using iPads, 5G mobiles. Children, as Dr. Rose Verghese pointed out, her 2-year-old wants to have access to the iPad or a mobile phone. Today, many of us as parents or grandparents, when a child starts crying, we just hand over a mobile phone or an iPad to quieten the child without knowing what access the child could have on the internet, what pop-up could happen. Because this is something which doesn't cross our mind. We just want the child just keep watching the TV. These kind of things are starting at the age of 2, at the age of 3, which we as parents and stakeholders in the society need to be aware of. With the passage of time, technology has become all pervasive, has pervaded our homes, offices, families, businesses, social and personal interactions. Today, you can't even meet somebody without calling them first and fixing a time. If a venue has to be fixed in a restaurant, for example, you have to book a table there or anything of that kind. So without usage of technology or a phone or a mobile or an app or anything of that kind, nothing can happen. Similar is the case with children. Children also need to call their friends and fix up a meeting to play cricket or go to a pizza place or go anywhere. So every conduct of a child is being done online. In these circumstances, the online activities by making use of technology by both adults and children have exploded. More so in the pandemic times when online classes are being held for children and all interactions with children are by use of technology, which most often than not is online. This explosion comes with its own set of problems. We are no longer in the times of good touch, bad touch, which is what we would tell our daughters, many times not the sons, but the daughters, that is good touch and bad touch. Be careful of what it is, though not telling our sons that don't do the bad touch. Be that as it may, we are beyond good touch and bad touch today because online there are new threats which are being faced, which are not to the knowledge of the parents or the children. However convenient the online platforms are, there are problems associated with it. Like any good things comes with some problems. This is more so in case of children, since many of the children would not have the maturity and or the knowledge of knowing, let alone understanding the various issues and problems regarding safety or threats that would arise. Internet or online safety of children has not only become a rising concern for the parents, but for all stakeholders in society across the world, whether it is the East or the West. It is not something strange to our country. The Western countries also have the same thing. And all developing countries or developed countries, there is no distinction in that. Every day we read or watch videos or news items in various television channels, WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups about some disturbing news relating to children who have fallen prey or victim to online predators. The word predators has been coined on account of the manner in which these persons act online. Such persons normally wait in the sidelines to pounce upon any unsuspecting child. Predator in this context is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a person or an organization that uses weaker people for their own advantage. And the word prey is defined as a person who is harmed or tricked by somebody, especially for dishonest purposes. Though many of us speak of online threats, many of us are not aware of the nature and or the nomenclature of such threats. Let us understand a few of them. One of the things which, though not a threat, which is an issue for children, is the screen time. This is not a threat or an issue or a safety in that sense of a term as a crime being committed. But screen time is one of the major issues when the children are facing, irrespective of a third party, because this is in-house, this is inherent, and this is within our own house where our children are faced with the screen time. Of course, there are now apps which have come about which restricted the screen time. You can lock the screen time. You can say 1 hour a day, and then the phone or the iPad or the laptop gets locked and the child cannot do anything without a password. But of course, screen time is an issue. One of the prevalent issues affecting today is the use of mobiles, iPads, laptops, televisions indiscriminately for hours together on any given day. Some of the children, I believe, are online on the machine, on the screen for 8 to 10 hours a day. The same has resulted in screen addiction, including addiction to online gaming, which has become a big issue. Binge watching, dependency on social networks, false sense of security and of vanity on the basis of likes to any given post on a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. The indiscriminate use of the above instruments and the media has resulted in distortion of sleep cycles of the children, which has an impact on the psychological profile of the children, among many things. This, though not a crime, this, though not an issue which needs to be prosecuted, but this is an aspect which is all pervasive to all the children across in any of our homes. Now, coming to the criminal aspects, one of the offenses or threats is cyberbullying. Bullying is banned in all colleges. Bullying is banned in all schools. But cyberbullying, who is responsible? How do we identify it? Because this is not happening in the school. This is not happening in the college. This is happening in ether, in vacuum, by anybody who has access to the internet, involves themselves in cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is one of the far-reaching issues faced by children today, both from their peers as also from third parties. Bullying is defined as the use of strength or power to frighten or hurt weaker people. Cyberbullying is nothing but using online method for such bullying. Normally, the same is through social media, messaging services, social media like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. And sometimes using email. One other new platform which has come into vogue now is the online gaming platform. Since nowadays there are online interactive games which have been introduced, requiring children to collaborate or contest against various other children who are online at the same time. But we don't know whether the other person that they're contesting is a child or is an adult masquerading as a child. Cyberbullying would consist of threats and intimidation held out on these online platforms, harassment and stalking, harassment by sending unnecessary messages, stalking by stalking all the posts which are put up by a child or by a parent about a child. Please also understand there's one more aspect of it. It is not what only the child posts, but what the parent posts about the child, which is also very crucial. These are some aspects which normally it doesn't come to our mind, but the intricacies of this is far more. Defamation. The cyberbullying could be by way of defamation. One of the child defaming the other child could be bullying, masquerading as a child, rejection and exclusion by the communities. Some of the children, if they do not agree to what has been told, are removed from a WhatsApp group. They are rejected from that WhatsApp group. They are rejected from a Facebook group. They are unfriended. Body shaming. This has become a major aspect of cyberbullying or body shaming. Cyberbullying is even more dangerous than physical bullying. This being so, since cyberbullying can be resorted to from anywhere, anytime, and against anybody by anyone. Like democracy, what we define as for the people, by the people, of the people. Cyberbullying or cyber threats is by anyone, anywhere, anytime, against anyone. Cyberbullying can reach a much larger audience instantaneously, invoking participation by the audience, who may be third parties who would participate in it, not knowing what they are doing. Repetitive cyberbullying also becomes very easy, since it is only a repost of a message or retweeting of a particular tweet. Pseudonymous or anonymous accounts can also be set up. Perpetrators can also resort to masking his or her identity, as also impersonate or pretend to be someone else. Cyberbullying has a much larger impact on a person bullying than physical bullying, since this impacts on the person on a psychological level across the world, across all his friends or her friends, and across all his social contacts. The other aspect which is very important, inappropriate content. What is inappropriate content is again a question which many of the children may not be able to understand. At the tender age of 13, 14, they don't know what is appropriate, what is inappropriate. The inappropriate content could either be posted to a child or by a child. Many a time by the child innocently without knowing the consequences. A photograph of some of the children in a swimming pool. They could post it somewhere. It is innocent, but it's inappropriate. Does the child know about it? No. It's easy to take a picture and post it because it's a normal thing to be done. What about our DPs, which are there on our WhatsApp? You post something which may be very personal to you and which could be copied and posted anywhere else. A child would post his picture as a DP on his mobile phone, which could be copied. And if a particular picture is not very good, let me be very polite and say not very good. Somebody else can use it and morph it and do whatever that is required to be done, because we also have the software to do it. Normal Photoshop, as Dr. Roseberg was speaking of, I did not know many of the terms, phishing, catfishing, etc. But Photoshop is also one of the words today. So anything can be Photoshopped, it could be morphed. The aspect which affects children most is that children coming across inappropriate content or explicit content, more often than not sexual in nature, which the children would normally not have been exposed to. Without online, they would not have been exposed to this. The TV shows, movies have a rating by the concerned censor board. However, online platforms, including OTT platforms, even though there may be a censor certificate, there's no way of ascertaining whether a child would access such content or not. Just having a certificate in the beginning is not sufficient. Because from a mobile, anybody can access anything. From an iPad, anybody can access anything. From a smart TV, anybody can access anything. There's also internet online bombing of this content, either in terms of emails or pop-ups on various sites. Once again, online gaming or gaming platform have become a newer means of disseminating any inappropriate content, in as much as many games, which are free in nature, expose children to sexual content as also adult situations. Some of the content which would be termed to be inappropriate are pornographic material, pictures, videos, adult games, and so on and so forth. The experts would probably be speaking more in detail about it. There's another, I was really surprised at hearing about this. There's something called online grooming. One of the recent trends which has been seen is of strangers or person who have come in contact with children, making use of online platforms to commence and continue to interact with children, develop an acquaintance, leading up to a friendship, leading to a dependency of the child on such a person. Child's psychological, they play on the psychological requirement of the child, pretending to sympathize and empathize with the child, gain trust of the child and prevail upon a child to do or not to do things that child would normally becomes a friend. If the child doesn't get the proper support at home, he will fall prey to these online groomers. This is something that we as parents and we as grandparents and we as uncles and aunts have to recognize. This could involve transfer of monies. They could prevail upon the child to transfer monies because we have given them access to a Paytm wallet, to some wallet, because payments have to be made. Providing for information about that child itself, of his friends, parents, relatives, or it could involve a child having conversation with such a groomer on aspects like sexual experiences, their thoughts on their friends, etc., as well as the sharing of their own photographs or videos in compromising positions, which eventually lead to blackmail by such a groomer and a threat of exposure of the explicit material to the society or to any particular person. This is a threat that the children are facing. These kind of actions taken by a groomer are very difficult to recognize and even more difficult to prosecute without knowing the identity of the groomer. Probably we would not even recognize that our child is being groomed if a person is exposed. How do we tackle this? The aspect that we have now come across where children have been booked under the Juvenile Justice Act is online reputation and or defamation. In today's world, most of us, more particularly children, believe whatever is posted online without bothering to cross-check on the veracity or the truthfulness of such a post. This has resulted in fake news, fake posts on Facebook, Instagram, etc. and WhatsApp, which is now termed, there's a popular term for it also, WhatsApp University. Anything posted is WhatsApp University. Are you an alumni of the WhatsApp University because you are saying something which is not true? This being so, since anything posted on WhatsApp, Twitter, or any other forum is taken as the gospel truth. Rather unfortunate, but the sad truth is that children have thousands of friends or followers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., but no real close friends because the interaction has got limited. We would always get on the street and play cricket. We would go and play football. We would be outside. But today it's online and it's easy to friend. Physically, it's difficult to befriend somebody, but online, just by clicking a button, you are called as a friend. Whether it's a friend or not is a different issue. Thus, any post on the wall of a child by a third party who has access to said wall can immediately expose to all followers of the so-called friends who may not even be friends. There being instances of body shaming as also defamatory material posted online on the Facebook page or Twitter handle, which reach a wide audience immediately, which could have an immediate psychological impact on the child, leading up to depression and various other aspects, including suicide, which has also happened. This works both ways, in as much as there could be material which is posted against a child, as also it could have been posted by a child, knowing not what is being posted is not proper. Innocently, a child could post a message of body shaming a person. There are words used which we have come across. The offense of defamation requires publication for it to become liable. Otherwise, it remains slander. Any post on a Facebook wall or Instagram or Twitter handle would amount to publication, since third parties would have immediate knowledge and read the said publication, which has the effect of disseminating in a public domain. So it is liable straight off if somebody has posted something. Are the children knowledgeable about it? Sometimes the child may make a hasty and nasty comment on a friend, probably on account of interaction that they could have had on that particular day between them. Yes, children fight. When it is a physical one, they would call each other names and go away. But today, leading to a larger audience. By a child being hurt without realizing that posting such a comment would amount to publication resulting in libel. And these aspects would have a deep social impact which would have to be taken into consideration. The recent trend is of employers checking the background of a prospective employee by going through the social media of a prospective employee available in the public domain. Any such comment which has been left online would probably have an impact on a child's future employment also. Employers, there are apps which are available today which mine the Facebook profile or Insta profile to find out what are the posts which have been put up which may be suitable or not suitable for employment. A child may not get employment in future. The electronic trail lives on forever, and any post, whenever posted, unless deleted, continues to be available for online viewership, be it one day ago or a decade ago. Pornography. This is the most common offense which could be committed against a child, whether it is a child pornography or adult pornography. These are various online pornographic sites which are available for a child to easily access. It only asks a question, are you 18 and above? The child just has to click yes. There's no verification of it. And get immediate access. The premature exposure of a child to this pornographic site has a tremendous impact on the development of a child, which could distort their understanding of relationship, affecting their development, lead to inappropriate expectations, from friends, and when the set expectations are not met, it results in anxiety or depression. It would further create many more personal, family, as also societal problems. More so since most children at such tender age are unable to separate truth from the fiction and could consider the online pornographic material to be the truth when in fact it is not. There's another new word which has come into the dictionary, sexting. Yes, there's a word for it. Sexual messaging and image sharing among children by themselves or by children with groomers or predators or third parties who they have met recently online is one of the biggest issues of these times. Either under peer pressure or otherwise, children are left vulnerable and get involved in sharing their thoughts on sexual relationship, their fantasies, their perception of reality with these third parties, which continue to be available in public domain. Sexting by itself has a deep psychological impact on a child. However, sexting leads to further issues in as much as the messages which have been texted and or images which are shared could be easily shared online in the public domain, reaching out to a large audience instantaneously with a link leading to the child who has shared it. A child who has shared the image or texted would have no control over how that material is used online by a person with whom he is sharing such an image or such a text. Secular psychology, resulting in cyberbullying and affecting the future prospects. Self-harm. Self-harm is something which is staring us right in the face. We have started speaking of depression. We have started speaking of it today. Children are also prone to such kind of issues. We have all heard of a game called Blue Whale, which required the person participating to perform certain actions at different time frames and post the same online. The severity of the things to be done increased with each action level being completed. The final few actions requiring children to inflict harm on themselves, like cutting themselves, tonsuring their head, breaking their bones, involving in high-risk activities, and final act being the act of committing suicide. There have been hundreds of children who ended up committing suicides, some of them being from reputed schools in our country. Including in our country, we have had the Blue Whale Challenge. We have heard about it. That had become an issue. Blue Whale is but one example. There are several other methodologies and several search results which could be available for a child to process, including answers to questions like, how do I commit suicide? Yes, if you try and put it on, there are already pre-filled search parameters which are available on Google. How do I commit suicide? How do I kill somebody? How do I defame somebody? These are pre-filled questions for which there are predetermined search results which are available. These kind of material which is available on the internet when accessed by a child who is in doubt and having low self-esteem could result in the child trying out those particular methods, harming themselves or others. It is required of parents to be aware of this and keep track of any physical self-harm that may have resulted so as to take necessary and adequate action. If parents were to notice any cuts, unnecessary, any fracture which could not have been, it is for us to be aware of. It's for us to keep track of in the child. Privacy and identity theft. Catfishing is what Madam Burgess spoke of. Privacy and identity theft is not only limited to the elders but also to children. Many a time, the identity of a child is stolen by predators to masquerade as a child, to befriend other children, thereby invading the privacy of child as also child to be befriended. The photograph that you post as your DP could be taken to pretend as a child by creating an account. And there are so many images available on the web of children. These are but a few things. There are so many other things. I'm just only touching the tip of the iceberg for us to be only aware of what could be and what is. Prosecution is a different ballgame altogether. Prosecution has great difficulties in as much as the above offenses will have to be proven in a court of law. This would require collection of evidence in a proper and required manner, proving of the evidence by a competent person, and appreciation of the evidence as also bucketing the offense under the already preset offense which are defined or contained For example, in the IPC, Indian Penal Code, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, etc. Because these are not offences. Nobody has heard of cyberbullying. Nobody has heard of sexting. These are not offences which are there. But could they be bucketed in already existing offences which have been defined under the IPC or otherwise? POCSO was not an enactment until 2012. It was not recognized. It would either come under 354 or 376 earlier. But now that POCSO has come in, sexual offences of children have been recognized. As you might have noticed, much of the aspect that I did speak of is relating to sexual offences and or financial offences. These are the two main areas. There are several legislation that have been brought into effect in various countries. For example, in Canada, there is the Education Act, which specifically deals with cyberbullying, imposing a fine of $500 or 6 months imprisonment. We don't have something like that. It's probably for the think tank to look into it and see how to recommend what to do. In the US, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, the specific children. In India, we have the Information Technology Act, Juvenile Justice Act, Indian Penal Code, and Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. Under the IT Act, we could bucket. Today, there may be a law which may come in future. Until that comes, what do we do with the existing laws? It is those existing laws which have to be implemented. So it has to be, these offences have to be bucketed under the existing laws. The IT Act of 2000 was passed dealing with various crimes on internet. There's no cyberbullying as such defined, but cyberbullying could be one crime which happens on the internet, leaving for us to interpret under which provision of the IT Act this could come in. Section 66D could be one, which states that if a person cheats someone by portraying their image or on the internet or social media, he shall be punished. The imprisonment could extend to 3 years or 1 lakh fine. Could this provision be used for some of these offences? 66E, this is as regards punishment for capturing someone else's private pictures intentionally and putting it on the internet or social media without their consent. Now, what is consent and what is intention? If you have it on your DP and it's published, is that not consent because it's already in public domain? The intention, a child posting something unintentionally, it is just posted. Could it come under intention? Section 67, under this, transfer, circulation, or uploading of vulgar or improper material on the internet or social media could be punished. This is up to 5 years or with fine of 10 lakhs. India Penal Code, there's no particular provision which has been made, but section 507, 509 could be some of the sections. 354C could be extended up to internet and online privacy and online crimes which are being committed. Defamation, could we bring it under section 499 relating to criminal defamation? Apart from the bucketing of the provisions, what we require is proper investigation. We are not trained today. We do not have institutions which have the proper training which is available. As I was mentioning earlier to Professor Dr. Nagaratna, that the naming of the center, Advanced Center for Research Development and Training in Cyber Laws and Forensics, that is the need of the day. It is these kind of centers which can come up with how to deal with these kind of offenses. What are the forensic methodologies which are to be used? How do you access and investigate these kind of offenses? Today, we need to reinforce and strengthen the forensic staff in the country, train the investigators, have crime scene investigators and forensic experts, specialized investigators having expertise in psychology, child needs, etc. Equipment to gather evidence of online offenses, preservation of the same, and proving of such offenses, which is very nascent, which a lot of work needs to be done because we are still grappling with it. This is all new. It's not that the legislature has not done something. It's something that think tanks and centers will have to come up, think about it, and suggest the mode and methodology of handling it. Law will always lag behind, but it is for centers like this to guide in these aspects. Today is probably these kind of seminars and the eminent panelists here coming from different areas and being stakeholders who could act as a think tank to suggest the manner and methodology in identifying and dealing with these issues. What I have referred to here is only a brief introduction and is a mere scratch on the surface. The same would require detailed analysis, which I firmly hope and believe would happen in due course. Children who are watching this or participating in this program, you being the future of the country, I implore upon you to be aware of yourself and of people that you meet online. Do the right thing. Ask yourself if you are doing the right thing, and ask yourself if you are doing the wrong or something wrong is being done. If something is wrong, please raise your voice. Happy Children's Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was very much almost elaborate and almost covering comprehensively everything under cyber law, especially when our kids were here, our children, our students, first year students, all the students, as well as I can see some of the advocates also being joined lately now. So I think you have almost addressed all the aspects with regard to cyber law. Thank you so much, sir, for opening this with such a good inaugural address. Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Nigam Nugehalli, Registrar in LSIU, to give the presidential address. Please, sir.
Thank you. Justice Suraj Govindraj, Dr. Om Prakash, Professor Rose Verghese, Dr. Nagaratna, Mr. Arvind, Mr. Vinit Kumar, Ms. Sweta Kumari, Dr. Anita Patil. Thank you very much for inviting me to this session on online protection of children and the law. I'm very happy to be here, particularly today on Children's Day. I'm surrounded by my friends and contemporaries. Justice Suraj was a contemporary of mine during the early days of the National Law School. Professor Verghese taught both me and Justice Suraj. I'm very happy to be part of this audience and discussing the important issues that have been so well brought out by Justice Suraj in his address to the audience. My work today is very brief. I want to give a sense of, I'm the registrar of the National Law School. I want to give a sense of how legal education can participate in events and processes such as the ones that we're doing today. And I want to kind of give some indications of how I perceive legal education can participate in the future in these issues. As both Justice Suraj and Professor Verghese will recognize, we have come a long way from the early days of the National Law School Bangalore. The National Law School Bangalore, I was the 5th batch, Justice Suraj was the 3rd batch. Professor Verghese was part of the founding faculty. When we were part of the National Law School, we were energized by the vision of Dr. Madhav Menon about how lawyers should and educators should not only teach law but participate, invest in the social processes around them. And that vision of his was fulfilled progressively over the years. When we were students, we didn't have the kind of centers that we have today at the National Law School. So just to give an example, we have at least 3 flourishing centers which are connected to the kind of issues that we are talking today. A lot of very interesting and cutting-edge work has already been done by the Center for Cyber Law and Forensics, headed by Dr. Nagaratna. In addition to that, we have the Center for Child and the Law that have looked at issues both of security for children, but also education for children. And then we have issues relating to the center that has been set up for women and the law, which has dealt with issues such as child marriage and violence against women, etc. The idea for these centers, as one would recognize, and it's integral to our vision of a progressive legal education, is that we believe that these centers do 3 things which are very important. And I'm sure similar centers at the Ramaiah College of Law have the same kind of vision, which is that we encourage research Because we encourage research, we encourage the idea of knowledge generation. Justice Suraj, at various points of time in his address today, mentioned issues in which we need further research, and he said these are issues that are driving the law rather than being reactive to the law. They have issues that have come up because of which law has to now catch up, and those kind of issues are not merely going to be taught; they have to be researched first. He mentioned platform regulation, and he mentioned cyberbullying, and he mentioned issues which are there only because of technology. And these are issues in which we need active researchers trying to figure out, identify problems, and then possibly identifying solutions. The centers are also important in intervening and interacting with the outside world. We have the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Arvind here. Dr. Nagaratna has in the past and continues to do so, has interacted with various IAS and IPS officers on cybercrime, and similarly all the other centers at the law school have been doing it. And one of the reasons we are doing it is because we train people who need further knowledge and experience with the law, and we learn from the outside world as well when we do that. So, and that kind of academic practice exchange is critically done through the advent of the centers at any law school, and certainly at the National Law School, certainly at the Ramaiah College of Law. And finally, if we have good centers doing these kind of research, it enriches our teaching. So our teachers become better teachers because they're active researchers. And it is important for us. In fact, I still recall Professor Verghese lectures at the law school, mainly for the fact that it was contemporary in nature. It was something that kept in touch with what was going on in the world outside. This is what we would like all our teachers at the law school to do. If a teacher is teaching criminal law or criminal procedure code, that professor must take account of contemporary developments in the law. And one of the ways in which to do it, in fact, the best way to do it is through the centers that are doing this kind of research at the law school. So it's important, therefore, I think, for legal education to be both active researchers and active interveners in the different fields of law that they're doing research in. Online cybercrimes and online protection of children is one such areas. I want to talk about 3 or 4 things about online protection of children and the law. And what I'm doing here is merely an outline. My background is in the philosophy of law on one hand and tax law on the other. And I do a lot of work in private law, contracts, property, tort, trust, corporate law. I'm not an expert in cybercrimes, but what I want to do here for the audience is to just give some kind of a skeletal framework for how I perceive legal education and legal experts, how I perceive their role in this area going forward. And I'm sure I'm really looking forward to the discussion of the resource persons here and to see what areas and what changes they are trying to talk about. So the first thing is about the substantive law itself, which Justice Suraj Govindaraj has gone into in great detail, the kind of interrelationships between the Information Technology on the one hand, Information Technology Act on the one hand, and POCSO on the other, with IPC being the traditional legislation in the background, and the Juvenile Justice Act coming in as well, and both protecting and regulating the crimes that have been committed by children and against children. It's also important, I think we should recognize going forward that there is another looming issue that will require research and reflection, which is the idea of privacy and data protection. We have the Data Protection Act, which is under consideration by the Parliament, and we will have to go into pretty tricky issues about what consent would mean by children and on behalf of children under the Data Protection Act. And this would be an important issue, I think, going forward for further research by our resource people. This is the substantive issues that we have been talking about. But then there are other issues, And I'm very happy that Justice Suraj is here because he has been involved in these issues. He's been thinking about these issues for quite some time. These are what I would say are procedural issues relating to cybercrime. In what way are criminal complaints processed? In what way are civil complaints processed? The timelines there, the inefficiencies there. Those are the kind of issues that we need to talk about in greater detail in our country. The FIR process, the cyber cell process. It's something that we need to focus on in addition to the substantive issues that we have been talking about. These issues, these procedural issues are also issues that cover capacity issues. What is the capacity of our law enforcement administration to handle cyber crimes, especially cyber crimes against children? I have to say that we had to recently amend our information technology policy at the National Law School, Bangalore, because we were also not up to date. We just recently had a governing body meeting where we went through the IT policy and we amended it. We in fact included a whistleblower provision in the IT policy so that we can have people coming forward with complaints without any fear that there'll be a retaliation against them. But this is something that we hadn't thought of it either. So it's an interesting capacity issue that we were dealing with. And finally, something that Justice Suraj has emphasized right from the beginning, which is that, and which Professor Verghese also talked about, which is that in this particular area, in the area of cyber crimes and protection of children, self-help is very important. It is very important that prevention of crime is given as much importance as our reaction to crime. So training for children, training for children's parents, training for educational institutions where plenty of these children are housed, and to ensure that cyberbullying, cyber grooming, harassment are issues that are addressed at the beginning rather than at the end of the process. And for that, we are talking about not so much law or policy, but some thought processes on prevention and preemption of these kind of activities. So I will end my brief talk by saying that the kind of centers that we have today, kind of collaboration that's happening between Ramaiah College and the National Law School, I think it's really important for us going forward, because it is only by taking a holistic overall view of the subject, including its substantive aspects, its procedural aspects, its capacity building aspects, and its self-help training aspects, that we can address this problem completely and in a comprehensive manner. So I congratulate all the people that come here, especially the resource people, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for throwing the light on especially the role of the stakeholders which can be played in the legal education for online child safety. Thank you so much for this. Now, I think we can open for the panelists, the resource persons. With the first, I would like to request Mr. S. Arvind sir, who is the Superintendent of Police, Special Division, Special Branch CID Intelligence, Internal Security from Chennai. Before we start, I would definitely take some more time to mainly mention few. I can say there's much, but I would like to take few of the the awards which mainly sir has been he's a recipient of many of the awards, but I would like to at least highlight 2 or 3 which is very prominently, which I would like to say. One is the commendation from the Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu in the recognition of the good work which sir has done in the investigating of a sensitive case which is involving the army officials in the year 2011. Second, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister's Medal for Excellence in Investigation for the year 2015-16, where he has mainly been recipient of a gold medal. Third, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister's Police Medal for Gallery in the recognition of the courageous efforts taken by the collecting, investigation and the intelligence on the activities of the religious, fundamentalist and the radicalist youth in 2019, where sir also is a recipient of the gold medal. Ashtadama Achyuta Kushalata Padak in 2019. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Police Medal in 2020, the Home Minister Special Operation Medal in 2020. So I think we have a huge gold medalist who is there with us and who can mainly address from many of the the criminal issues or the issues which they mainly face during the investigation. So we would surely look up to you, sir, for such informative session. Welcome to you, sir. Over to you, Arvind, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And good morning, Honorable Justice and all dignitaries here. And currently, I'm working as Deputy Commissioner of Police in Tirupur City, ma'am. I mean, that was my previous posting. And with your permission, let me share the screen here. Most of the things what I wanted to tell in the introductory slide have been very elaborately and exhaustively explained by our Honorable Justice here. And thank you very much, sir, for it. And I wanted to tell certain news items which have carried messages relevant to us, relevant to this
Sir, you're on mute. Arvind, sir, you're on mute.
Ma'am, is it audible now?
You're audible, sir. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm sorry. Some network issues, ma'am, and for time being, I'll just stop the video. I hope the screen is now on, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. We have received a lot of complaints related to the mischievous activities of students over Zoom Classroom and Google Classroom and WebEx. And that include abusing the teachers, abusing the girl students, and sharing the porn contents and everything. So the pandemic has put us in the new norm, and most of the classes in colleges and schools are taking place only on the virtual mode. And the number of cases reporting in this area is also increased. And with their curiosity and innate inquisitiveness to their age, the teenagers and even the children explore a lot and ending up in certain wrong things in the online platforms. And of course, they leave their digital footprints everywhere, and which only help us to identify them. And one such thing, actually, the normal logic is if we do some mistake, if we commit some mistake, and we should be penalized and we should be punished. But in this online thing, and there are a lot of youngsters, teenagers, and even the children at the age of 10, 9 and all, are all very conversant with the hacking tools, and they do vulnerability and penetration testing in a number of websites and social media platforms, and where they actually get a job or bounty schemes and they're given cash rewards. So, I mean, this is one thing I wanted to tell. So instead of getting penalized, the children or the teenagers are actually encouraged or rewarded to do all these things in the online world, and that may be the one of the reason why the children with the more curiosity doing something bad in the online thing. And one second. I'm sorry, and I could not.
No problem, sir.
No, man. Something gone wrong, and the slide is not changing. Once again.
So what you can do is you can just stop sharing, and once again, if you want, you can once again you can
Yes,
start
yes,
sharing.
yes.
So I think it's just stuck for a moment there.
I'm doing
No problem,
it.
sir.
I'm doing it. Kindly excuse me.
No problem, sir. The technical issues cannot be avoided, sir. It's inevitable.
Of course, ma'am. Of course, ma'am. Of course, ma'am.
Yes, sir. You can do the slideshow at the right.
Yes, yes,
dot.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Now
Now
it's
it,
okay.
yes, yes.
Now it's okay. And one statistic says at least 1 in 8 of the young children are being bullied in social media. And now the pandemic has put us in a very awkward situation, and those things we have denied access to our children, maybe the smartphone, the smart TV, and the free access to the computers and internet, and we are forced to give them access, and actually we are risking them too. And as our honorable justice just mentioned here, there are a lot of things, including the self-harming by means of the cyberbullying. The children are being abused around 9%, and most of them getting depressed and had suicidal thoughts and developed a social anxiety. I mean, these are all the recent statistics after the pandemic has come, and the world became, I mean, the education became virtual mostly. And the height of it, the young children are vulnerable to pedophiles, and child sexual abuse materials are all very handy to them. And as our justice and the registrar analyst rightly mentioned, everything is in their hands, within their reach, and they become more vulnerable. The certain materials show causing young children and teens in a very bad light, and making them depressed, and this will be a starting point for grooming them for all type of sexual and online harassments. And this is also recent news, and the cyber grooming is also been increased after the pandemic has knocked us. And there are a lot of suspicious links with malicious contents. It may be a hacking tool or a bot or a rat, which is being spread through WhatsApp and Telegram groups and emails. And the children becoming susceptible to all these attacks, and their equipments getting compromised. One such case we recently dealt in Tripur city, and this the particular teenage girl's mobile phone have been hacked or taken control by the fraudster using this TikTok Pro app only, and which is not available in Google platform or the Apple iStore, but it has come to the child through one of the groups, and she had fallen prey to it. And though there are a lot of things, I just wanted to touch upon these areas. As our justice told, there are a number of avenues, anywhere, anytime, and anybody can be victimized. And these are all the important things I wanted to mention here. This hacking, as I told you, there are some of the unauthentic and suspicious links coming in. And it's not only through emails, but also through social networking groups, and even it is being shared in the chat rooms of the class. So the getting hacked to the communication device or computer system is order of the day, and most of the children only getting affected. And the next thing is identity theft, and in these scenarios I have explained the scenarios, and I have touched upon the legal remedy currently available in our legal system. And of course this hacking could be handled with these available sections already. And the identity theft, and this also, I mean, as the previous speaker said, if it is available online already, that we have shared our DP and certain other credentials also shared in the groups. So the identity theft is very easily possible, and obtaining SIM card and other connections, internet connections with somebody else's name, and using the same for other illegal activities are on the rise. And the next thing is the child sexual abuse material. So it is the representation of a child who is engaged in a real or simulated sexual activities. A case recently we dealt in the month of August. A child came with her parent, and the scenario is very pathetic. And while she was attending the classes online using Zoom, and she received a video call from a Bangladesh-based WhatsApp number. And she attended the call. The face of the person other side is not visible, and he has paused the video. But the video in which this girl is seen on the other side has been video recorded, and he has subsequently morphed the video with some phone contents with nude pictures, and he has sent it over WhatsApp to this girl. But finally, we have catch hold of the accused, and he has randomly chosen many numbers and sent like this. So after receiving a morphed pornographic pictures of the of herself, and she got annoyed, and she started doing, or she became very obedient to all the instructions of the fraudster, I mean the accused, and she shared some unwanted things online. And of course, and she got emboldened, and she came to us, and it was solved. So this sexual abuse material is one of the very big menace now, and all the children are being victimized, and no one is safe now. And the cyber stalking. See, normally the stalking, in one of the scenario, and this is also our case only, a criminal stalked a 16-year-old girl over a period of time through online platforms, and she has followed, she was followed by the accused by her Instagram and also the Facebook, and he followed all the statuses posted by the girl, unfortunately, and he was physically assaulted. And this was the video was also circulated, and we could arrested. We could get the accused arrested, and he was arrested with the provisions of POCSO, and he's still inside, and the case is PT now. And the cyberbullying, it has been explained by our justice already, and now most of the classroom activities and educational activities taking place in the online thing, and so the images of girl or even a small boy available to the others is becoming very easier, because most of the classrooms, the teachers want the student not to mute the video, because they wanted to ensure that he is keen on and he is watching the classes. So these clips are taken and used for bullying activity. And this is one such incident, and a girl got into a deep depression, and was given some psychiatric help, and she is okay now. And the defamation online, and it is intentionally the school children, of course, they are studying only in 9th or 10th standard, and their criminal thinking is very shocking. And in one such scenario, and they have defamed her, the principal and also the class teacher, both are ladies, in a very bad manner. And they were identified with the credentials, but the school teachers wanted not to register a case. But this example I have given is some other registered case. It is actually very well dealt with the provisions of IPC itself. And the grooming. So grooming, it is a process of establishing an emotional connection, as I have told earlier, and using one or other way, the child starts believing or starts following the instructions without being understood that she is getting exploited right now, or she may be exploited at some point of time. And the next one, I want to tell this is online extortion. In a real case scenario, a class 12 student of South Delhi, and it has been given in papers, the pornographic video of herself online, and the similar cases we see in every state. And we have a forum of officers who are working or who earlier worked in cyber crime investigation. And each and every day we get the information about a case getting registered in this context. And the violation of privacy. Since everything becoming online, the privacy is a very big question. And in this thing, two engineering students who were arrested for harassing a 16-year-old girl by recording and circulating an MMS clip of their sexual act. The girl was in relationship with somebody else, and the person secretly recorded the activity and gave it to someone else, and which was circulated in public. And I mean, this is a very famous, rather infamous case which took place in Salem. There is a time gap in getting the information from Facebook, and in the meantime, unfortunately, the victim girl committed suicide. So, but after that, only the law enforcement portal has been strengthened by the social networking service providers, and now largely we get the details if we raise the emergency request in no time. And it is the responsibility of parents and the elders in home to make the children very safe. And as soon as, as our justice said here, earlier the TV used to be called as the babysitter. Now the smartphones and other devices becoming babysitting devices. The parents are having the responsibility of making their children very safe online, and they should know that what their kids are doing. And mainly, if the child is using the device for attending the classes, or she may be using it for some other purposes, she may be in a Zoom meeting and some combined study with their classmates, that's a different thing. But the parents shall know what is being happening. And for which I meant to say that we should keep an open and honest environment. If we keep our phones and other devices open to them, and we don't anything to hide in our device, if they can have the free access of our device for their rightful use, and we can definitely ensure that checking their phones is a normal thing. So otherwise, it is very difficult to handle their phones, and of course with the teenagers, and they are very reluctant and adamant not to give the phones, and we have seen number of scenarios. And if we are very open and honest and giving an environment that we don't anything to hide in our devices, the same thing we can expect from our children, and we can feel them safe and make them safe also. And as well as, and we should ensure the children information is protected. I mean, unnecessarily posting the photographs and their achievements in the online platform to others. And if we restrain this, and we will be safeguarding in a larger way. And of course, and if the child is giving a tip off that she's being bullied, and we need to ensure the parents are responding to it, and as a police officer and as well as a parent, and I say it is the onus of the parent to make a conducive environment in their home, that the children is coming out freely and speaking out what she or he is going through. And of course, there are a number of literature and narratives are available, and also YouTube videos are available, how to configure security and privacy features in the devices which children use. that includes smartphone, smart TV, and computer system. I mean, there are some paid tools are available, and some free versions are also available, and that will be helpful for protecting our children's information also. And we shall keep all our computers and mobile computing devices up to date with the latest security patches and updated. And we need to teach our kids that what are all the calls to be attended, and if the calls, the two video calls from the strangers not to be attended, and the messages and emails with from an unknown sender not to be opened, or the link not to be clicked. I mean, these are all the day-to-day active. I mean, should be the day-to-day activities during our dining time and all. So the children will definitely, I mean, the children are smarter than us, and they will definitely follow and make them safe. And the parental control, and we need to ensure in all our devices. And in the OTT platform, as our Honorable Justice rightly said, and there is the limit is given, the age limit is given, 18 plus, 13 plus, but it is not possible for a 13-year-old to watch a movie which is supposed to be watched by 18 plus. So that is the menace of this OTT platforms and the smart TV, and we need to really think about it. And the parents, as a parent, we can control the home internet, and the whitelisting, blacklisting, whatever the way we can use it, and the search engine, which can be optimized with the utmost parent control, and social media, apps and games, the film, TV subscriptions, I mean, particularly the OTT platforms and mobile phones and other devices. And if we need to make a way that we are not enforcing it forcefully, I mean, we need to do it in a manner that the children accepts it. And there are the filters and content filters and parental controls are all available in all the search engines and also all the Wi-Fi devices, and we need to explore about it. And the privacy control is available in all the gaming apps also, and also the game consoles also. If we want to protect our children from any violent content in the online games, that is also possible. That is also possible. And the next thing is we need to ensure the devices, whether it is a smart TV or it is a computer system or a smartphone, it should not be in the bedroom. I mean to say, it should be in the reading room, meaning whatever our child sees, that we should also to see that. So if we can ensure an environment like this, and by and large, we can save our children from being bullied online. And with this, I thank Dr. Anita for giving this opportunity to share my views in this August forum with all the dignitaries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for throwing light on how the the recent cases which you have encountered at Chennai, and also putting a light on almost majority of the cyber crimes. Thank you so much, sir. So next we have the most eminent speaker, who is very, very I think very technically very sound and an expert, you can say, Mr. Vineet Kumar, who is the founder and president of Cyber Peace Foundation, New Delhi. I would also like to highlight a few of his the awards for which he's the recipient, where he's mainly the recipient of 8 international, 18 national, as well as 13 state awards, which I would like to mention here, that is Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2018 semi-finalist. He's also the International Visitor Leadership Program on Cybersecurity 2017 at US Government Department of States, British Council Future Leaders Connect 2017 at Cambridge University. He's also the ISOC Ambassador 2017, IGF 2017, United Nations Geneva. He's also the King's Scholarship 2014 British Government. He's the world's top 5 student entrepreneur, also the Paragon 100 Fellowship, then Youth Award for Community Contribution at England. So we are very glad to have you, sir. You are an expert on the subject here, and we could not get anyone better than you, I think. So over to you, sir.
Just an addition before Vinit starts. So, of course, there's a lot more credentials because of positive
Yes.
and I can't say. But he, in fact, is an example of how a child can use the skill of this technology. So he was a hacker at the age of 10, but used it, for betterment of nation and all. And he also contributes to national security because he's a part of our armed forces also. So if children are attending or parents or as teachers, we can always see Vineet is an example on as to how we can take this technology more advantageously towards the betterment of one individual institution as well as the nation. Over to you, Vineet.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for the long introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here, and again, I would like to really thank you for inviting me, and also all the eminent dignitaries, Honorable Justice Suraj Govindraj, Dr. Nigam, Dr. Rose Varghese, Mr. Arvind, plus the audience present here, which I see a combination of lawyers, students, so it's the right mix of audience to present here. I'll try to be extremely quick. I understand we are running beyond time, so I'll try to make some quick points, some points probably which the other speakers probably missed, and lucky I am that I got some points to speak because I was just, Honorable Justice covered all the points, then leftover points were covered by Mr. Arvind. So I'll try to kind of share what we have done, some of the researches that we have done on the ground, and also some of the suggestions from our side. So I come from Cyber Peace Foundation, and we do a lot of work with children. Most of the crimes have already been talked about, but one thing that I see or that the foundation sees as a problem is the child self-generated sexual content. One of them, in fact, we get a lot of cases which gets reported on the helpline. And the helpline that we run, we are flooded by cases when the children come to us. Sometimes they come up to us with unofficial requests. And it is not just children, but it is also the parents who come up to us with those requests. It gets very difficult for us to solve such a case because they are not okay reporting the case to the police station. And that's what we believe is all this is just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of crimes are being reported to us on a daily basis on the helpline, on an average 7 to 10 crimes a day. And most of them, I would say 50% of the crime is related to children. And then I would say around 30% again is related to women, basically. And it is flooded. And I would say in the times to come, this is going to become a major challenge. So child self-generated sexual content, I mean, in today's arena, children are all netizens. We don't call them citizens, they are netizens. They're born in the digital world. In fact, the entire schooling, thanks to COVID-19, one of the positive side, if I see to COVID, is the online schooling, which was probably 10 years ahead of us. Now it has been advanced, and the entire online schooling has become the new norm. And this is going to stay. Despite we open the schools, this online schooling is going to stay. So the children are studying online. They get paired up online, the breakups happen online, and that's how the entire life cycle is in the cyberspace now. Now, while they are in a kind of a relationship, one of the most common problem that we see is child self-generated sexual content, where once the trust gets established, they start sharing content, photographs. They don't realize that later on, the same photographs might be misused against them. So that is one thing that we see as a major problem. The other thing is the issue of child sexual abuse material, CSAM. Now, there are research reports. I'll highlight some of the research reports. Research is done by Cyber Peace Foundation in collaboration with academia that we have done. Now, it's not just one platform. I don't wish to blame one platform, but it is across different platforms. Whether it is social media or OTT platforms, it's across these platforms where the content is available, and there are viewers. There are viewers who access it knowingly, and there are viewers who access it unknowingly, that this accessing or downloading such content is a crime. But the cause of concern for us is the kind of content and its consumption is growing every day. So I'm going to talk about those researchers there. Then again, as the other speakers highlighted, the issue of online gaming. The online gaming, in fact, again, Cyber Peace Foundation has released a research report. It's kind of a report that we have done. We've studied certain cases and also given advisories to the government, to the gaming companies, what needs to be done. Recently, in fact, there was an unfortunate incident that happened in Madhya Pradesh wherein a child lost his life because of this. He was playing online gaming. He was on an online gaming platform playing some game, and kind of that game required spending some amount. He took his mother's debit card, entered the details, and lost a lot of money. And then, out of regret, the child committed suicide. So those are the cases that are happening, and it's increasing in numbers. Then the new tech of crimes, again, grooming happening through baby monitors. We are living in an era of IoT, internet connected devices which are there. IoT world is increasing, and if you start mapping your home, you'll find a lot of IoT devices in your home which are connected to internet, and one of them is baby monitors. Now, this has become a common trend wherein kind of parents deploy baby monitors in their rooms, in their homes to monitor their babies, but they don't secure it. And then later on, these criminals, what they do is they access the baby monitors, and then that's how they start grooming. So these kind of cases are coming up and a cause of concern to us. Now, this is again something that other speakers have spoken about. I'll just add one thing. Cyber radicalization is also a challenge today. Other than the sexual abuse, online sexual exploitation, bullying, stalking, this cyber radicalization also has become a challenge. Now, this is one case. Again, I make a mention of this case in all my talks. And this was a boy, again, a teenager who had some problem. He posted something online and he wrote, "Pain makes you stronger, fear makes you braver, and heartbreaks makes you wisher." He wanted to write wiser, but he wrote wisher. There was a spelling mistake, and you can see how people started kind of stalking him, making fun of him, posting messages. And imagine the plight of that small boy. He was in pain. I mean, normally in a normal world, in a physical world, we would have never kind of done such a thing, made fun of someone. But in the cyber world, we kind of lose those kind of basic ethics or kind of emotions that we should have. So we start making, and you can see and how people participate in such conversation, make fun of him, and rather than consoling, and such kind of incidents happen. Now, online harassment, many people don't know. What is online harassment? What is kind of bullying? I mean, what is stalking? I mean, making fun of people, passing some comments or remarks, sending some objectionable material, sending some spam links, trolling, or having a forceful sexual conversation is all called as online harassment. And this is happening everywhere. This is happening not just with children, but also with women, with other group of people as well. So this again is a major problem which we see. Instances of cyberbullying and harassment is all here, which again, I'll kind of skip this because the other speakers have already spoken about it. This is a photograph taken by me, again with consent. Later on, I took the consent of these boys also. I'm currently in Ladakh. I'm speaking to you from Ladakh, and I went to a coffee shop, and when I was sitting there, I thought these boys have come for a chit chat. Later on, I observed that they all came, they were all sitting there, not talking to each other, but they were totally involved and engrossed in playing this online game. This is just yesterday. So I thought I'll just capture this moment and probably share it with these people. This is how things are changing. I mean, now we don't find students in a particular playground and only, even if they are there, you'll find them playing some multiplayer games. So that's how the era of esports have come. The era of online multiplayer games have come. There have been people who have been talking about banning such games and all that, but our observation is banning is not a solution. It's something esport. Now, if you talk about Olympics, I was reading a release wherein it talked about that esport, there could be a medal in Olympics in the times to come. If they've already declared something. Now, these are upcoming opportunities. Only thing is these young boys, children, they need to be probably given a proper path so that the issues which they face are solved, and this comes with some kind of opportunity. So yes, at the moment there are issues like engaging in conversation, violence, explicit content, and majority of the children whom we had spoken about, we had come across that they are unaware that such a thing is crime. Posting about somebody's photograph without consent is a crime. Tagging somebody without consent is a crime. So if I talk about some key recommendation, one major recommendation is integrating online safety into the school curriculum, which has already been started by CBSE. I'll share about that as well. Again, addiction, yes, is a major problem. According to the World Health Organization, video game addiction, again, they have spoken about that. There have been problems. Again, Honorable Justice has spoken about those games, Blue Whale and others. CSAM is something that we have been working on as a foundation, as a think tank. We have done a lot of work on the child sexual abuse material. Sorry, and India is one of the largest consumer and producer. This is something which pains me a lot. It is illegal, though it is illegal, but still, because people are unaware about the laws, they download such content and they share those content. And the investigation that CPF had conducted, it brought to light many such applications that circulate CSAM and the ease with which such materials can be accessed. And these are all spread on the surface web and also the dark web. These are some of the investigations. I'll not highlight much, but just wanted to give a snapshot about our investigation on Bigo Live. There are some streaming platforms wherein children go. It could be forceful. It could be something that maybe they are unaware about things. They post their videos. They post their they stream rather. I'll not say post. They stream their videos in which they are half naked, and then they demand for money. And there are platforms that are there wherein people pay money. People pay 50 rupees, and then the child under 18 performs a certain act. Again, there have been organized groups and gangs which kind of go to the rural areas, and in the rural areas, tribal areas where people are not so well-to-do, they kind of offer 500 to 1,000 rupees and then request the head of the family that all you need to do is kind of stream your daughter online, and that to naked. And there have been a lot of incidents that have happened. Many of them is unreported, but they are happening in areas, in the tribal areas and rural areas where people are unaware about crime. All they get is 1,000 rupees in return, and then they kind of strip their daughters, and the entire thing is streamed online. Now, this has gone to next level, wherein people are kind of pay for custom services, like the name written on the private parts of the girl, or something, a bed sheet of a particular kind. So it's going that bad. So we need to kind of do really hard. I know law enforcement, National Crime Records Bureau, even the judiciary, everybody's trying to scale the capacities and trying to do much more. But yes, this needs to be scaled with active participation of academia, industry, and the civil society here. Again, some of the reports that I'd like to share here. The second investigation on WhatsApp. After this, Ministry of IT kind of issued a letter to WhatsApp. The team was called upon, and now they are soon, in fact, they are planning to introduce the report CSAM button as well, based on the basis of our report. So the third investigation on Telegram, again, similar kind of things. All I need to show is it's happening across the platform. It's not 1, 2, or 3. It's happening across the platform. Again, one of our research which we did on WhatsApp and Telegram on end-to-end encrypted platforms and how these platforms are being used to share CSAM. This report is again online on the Columbia University website, on our website. The second one we are going to release, this is in collaboration with KJ Somaiya, where we have done the landscape study on online child trafficking and sexual abuse and exploitation. Now, this again talks about the entire landscape. There are apps, you'll be surprised to know there are apps on the Android store which take you to those content. The people just join a certain kind of a group, and that group is flooded with content of sexual abuse material. Now, when we went to the dark web, we carried out some investigation on the dark web. We're surprised to know that there are books which are made for predators, which says how to exploit a child online. And that teaches you step by step. How do you record the video, what to do? There's special groups that have been created. And if you wish to become a member of those groups or those particular forums, you need to exploit a child first, and then that's how you can become a member of this group. So that's how things are happening if you talk about the dark web and even surface web. I'm not going to talk about law because the other speakers have already spoken. I'm going to now talk about what we are doing basically, and how when we talk about kind of sensitizing children and also the caregivers, there's certain things that need to be done, because I strongly feel I have been under the police system also. I've headed a cyber cell. I've headed India's first cyber defense research agency way back in 2012. And I see there are challenges on the ground with the police. Like if a crime gets committed from a foreign country, it takes on an average 5 to 6 months for the agency to get the data from the foreign territory. And by the time you get the data, it's already late. Like the MLAT process, I feel we need a MLAT version 2 or a probably international cyber law. I mean, I'm not a legal expert. This is something that probably NSIU and again, other group of experts need to talk about at the national, at the internet governance level with UN, but something that should work on the ground, something that gives immediate relief to the victim. That side, investigation side, I feel it's a big problem because we are working with the investigator, we are working with the first responders, and this is a common problem that we see. Though crimes related to children that happen, people are much active. In fact, the platforms also are kind of quite responsible here and responsive. In fact, it takes around 3 to 4 hours for them to get the data, but I still feel 3 to 4 hours is also late. So we need to do much more here. Prevention, I feel, is the best thing. Prevention is better than investigation here. And how we are doing prevention is, again, with NCPCR, we created a game called a cyber trivia to kind of make students aware about online safety in their own words. Because again, do's and don'ts don't work. You can have a list of do's, you can have a list of don'ts, but at the end, children, they don't read. And I am sure the children who are part of the forum today, they'll also agree with me. But if you make them engaged in a platform that they like gaming here, so this is something they would love, they will play, at the end, they'll get some goodies, swags, and also they'll learn in the process. That's number one. We release advisories again for parents because we are training parents. We run a program called as Cyber Moms. We ran this program in 3 states. Now we are scaling to other states, wherein we're training parents on cyber parenting. So as parent, you need to know basically what is the right form of cyber parenting. Whether blocking device is something good, I would say it is not. It doesn't work. And there are cases, again, because I don't have time, I'll not like to share those cases here. But all of these is available with us. The content is there. We need to do much more. We need to kind of share these kind of material to as much as people as we can. Some of the material that we co-produce with UNICEF, again, is here. It's a guideline for parents and caregivers, tips on how to keep their children safe during COVID-19. We produce that. Now, this book, I would say, is something that should be kind of replicated to all states across India. We have released this with CBSE. CBSE and Cyber Peace Foundation has released this book. There's content already available. All we need to do is kind of make this content regional, translate it into the local language, and then circulate in the book in different schools. In fact, as of now, this particular book has been adopted by the state of Rajasthan, state of Punjab. They have got it translated into their local language and circulated into the state government school as well. So all the content, everything is there. If you just Google CBSE Cyber Peace, you'll get the book, you'll get the PDF. And this is something I feel to start with should be circulated in schools across India. One thing that we run again with Ministry of Education is the competition called as E-Raksha, wherein again, we kind of engage students, school students, college students, teachers, caregivers, faculties, all together in a form of a competition on online safety. And during the competition, they kind of educate. While participating in the competition, they kind of educate their peer groups on online safety. So that's again an engaging way of kind of promoting tips about safety, online safety among the students. And there are kind of different kind of swags, goodies that we give to the winners and those who participate in the competition. So this is one way. It also gives the kind of a platform to the students, to the school students to kind of contribute. And it is something good for the government also, so that we can identify the right kind of minds, good minds who are in this space, and then we can further mentor those students so that they can be at the right track. When talking about investigation, we have been doing with UNICEF, we have conducted TOT programs, we have conducted training programs, we have produced manuals in collaboration with BPR&D, and also the National Crime Records Bureau. These are the manuals which are there on their websites. In fact, the states can also reach us if they need these manuals. It's already, the content is already there. All we need to do is train our own people on this kind of content. That goes the same with the judiciary as well. So we have produced all of these. The content is already there. All we need to is replicate it now and kind of train our own manpower. I've already mentioned banning. I don't think it helps. Self-regulation also, it sounds like a good plan, but is it efficient? And the third point is minimum age criteria. How effective is setting an age bar? So these are something that, again, as experts, I think we need to discuss and we need to come out with a solution, maybe creating an expert group, because one of these sessions are not enough. Probably we need multiple such sessions. We need to have young children also as a part of those sessions. We need to have parents also as a part of the session to understand their perspective on this. What we can do for children and parents, awareness both at home, at school, monitoring online activities, filtering content, parental controls, limiting device usage. Again, because Mr. Arvind has already spoken about it, I'll not speak much here. Again, the way forward, I think, is international internet governance bodies play a very key role. In fact, ITU has released something called as ITU 2020 guideline on child online safety, something that can be taken and we can develop something on it. Cybersecurity strategy is going to come in India. I'm sure it will play a very strong role, in fact, in promoting and safeguarding children in the cyberspace, and also a policy aligned to our upcoming cybersecurity strategy is the need of the hour. Data protection bill, I feel, needs to be cleared soon, and something that we can refer strongly to. I was just reading while this session was going to start. Before that, I was going through the document, and this was Online Safety Act 2021 of Australia. So something that we should study and probably kind of come up with some good solutions from the act also, since they have already implemented in Australia, who is doing much more on online safety. We can imbibe some good stuff from there and kind of put it in ours. Strong regulatory requirements for service providers, intermediaries, and others. Need for special wings with intelligence and access to proactive technology to counter incidents. If technology is posing as a challenge, I feel technology will only give the solution. And technologies like AI, ML, and other stuff which I have been talking about will give the solutions here. I was mentioning about the crawler, the dark web crawler. We have something called as Project Chakravyuh. Now that same thing, I mean, the same technology could be misused, but we are using it for a good cause. So I feel those things need to be done. And issues like deepfake and upcoming challenges that are coming up, technology will only have the solution for that. On the ground assessment of levels of awareness, categorization of cyber and cyber-enabled crimes, legal challenges with technological advancement, etc. is needed. Multi-stakeholder interaction and involvement of industry, academia, civil society in lawmaking and innovation space. So that's all I have to say. And with this, I'd like to end. And again, looking forward to hearing views of the others. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for a elaborate. Technically, we will. I think majority of us who are parents here, I think the advocates, the students body, everyone are here. I think majority of the things we were not even knowing that such an app is there and such a safety measures, and the at the international level they are doing so many things which we are not aware of. So thank you so much. It was definitely a very informative session. So thank you so much. I think the next panelist is. I don't need, and there's no any need of any introduction. It's our Professor Dr. A. Nagaratna. Ma'am, I think there's no any formal introduction required, but definitely I would like to take this opportunity to tell that ma'am is mainly the coordinator of the Cyber Center. She's also an associate professor at National Law School of India University. She's also an eminent speaker at various webinars. She's mainly mentored many of the PhDs under the cyber law, commercial laws, criminal law. She's an authority under criminal law. She's also a member of the panel of experts for IT laws and also a member for International Institute of Information Technology Law. So welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Honorable Mr. Justice Suraj Govindraj, Dr. Nigam, Professor Varghese, Mr. Arvind, Mr. Vinit, Anita, and all others who are present in the webinar. I'm so happy to know that there are a lot of people who are important to, in fact, understand about this issue. So we're present in this webinar. So it includes a lot of teachers, principals from various schools, including International School, Silicon School, Baldwin School. So a lot of teachers are here. Glad to know that even parents have joined, and a lot of legal academicians advocates and judicial officers. Thanks a lot. I'll be very crisp because being the last speaker, so I'm just left with not many points because it's very well addressed with previous speakers, by previous speakers. So we all know that this technology, which was a luxury earlier, has almost become a handheld device today, or rather accessible to each one of us, including children, especially during the pandemic. Well, while before that, maybe a lot of parents were not letting children use this, but we had to force kids be on this because everything was virtual, including the class. So thereby raising a lot of concerns about the abuse of this technology. While on one hand, this technology is a source of huge information, knowledge, and also a platform for education, entertainment, as Mr. Arvind was saying, even after COVID, maybe children will have to use this platform, if not for actual schooling, but for their other additional classes, tuitions, etc. So this is in fact the source of communication, information, knowledge gaining. And also for elders, this is a source of information, including for news, etc. So from in fact movie theaters, we have moved on to OTT platforms. So a lot of examples helps us to understand how we got into this technology, and it's been extremely advantageous. There's one question in the chat box asking, can we avoid children using this? No, we just can't. Neither can we avoid using this because it's almost integrated with every mode of communication, or most of the day-to-day activities, be personal or official. So therefore, it is crucial that we use this technology, at the same time try to be safe and help our children in understanding the risk involved, so that they're also safe when it comes to using this platform. So since the number of users are also increasing day by day because of the Smart India kind of a campaign, etc., it's reaching everywhere, including the rural areas. In fact, courts have gone to the extent of saying that right to internet is a fundamental right, and when that gets merged with right to education, so of course it has to reach everyone. So therefore, there's no point in talking about curtailing the use of this. Rather, curtailing the misuse of this is what is more important for many reasons, as earlier speakers have already mentioned. One most important reason why this should be the focus of our approach when we think of regulating cybercrime is, over here, these are the victims who are very, very vulnerable to be misused, not just in offline domain, but also on the online domain. It's easy to groom them, as earlier speakers have already said. It's easy to gain their trust because these are kids who are curious, who are who believe in adventures, etc., who want to know more, explore more. So, and that's something that they easily get on this platform. So this is something that can get misused if it is not taken care of, concerns are not taken care of. On the other hand, on the other side, the perpetrator, be it again a child who is in conflict with law, that is an offender, or anybody else, including strangers, etc. Since they get anonymity, they might end up doing what they otherwise would not do, in view of others. As again, Arvind was mentioning about a particular case where the child was otherwise a very good child, but then did this whole crime because it was an online platform, because this is where we expect anonymity, privacy, etc., which can also be misused. So some of the reason why children become vulnerable is because we hardly supervise their usage of internet, especially now because they're attending class, but simultaneously what kids are doing is something that even teachers cannot monitor, since they are on the other side. Especially I'm talking about virtual classrooms. This side, how much should parents control is also another concern. So their activity often gets is usually not supervised, and most of the information that they end up sharing either on online platform or otherwise during that intercommunication with the other children or others, a lot of things are personal in nature. So there's also concern of personal data, privacy, etc. So and then again, because they're adventurous, so you never know how they would use it. So there are a lot of reasons which makes this issue extremely sensitive, at the same time important to be addressed. So again, a lot of offenses against children are increasing, the numbers are increasing, the forms are multiplying. So what terms, as ma'am was mentioning, Verghese was mentioning, terms we'd never heard of are becoming very, very common today, because those are the commonly committed offenses, be it phishing or bullying or grooming or stalking, etc. So therefore, this can include offenders from the known category of people whom the child knows, or it can also include strangers. It can include offenders who are in India, or who are based outside India. So therefore, because it has removed that geographical barriers, etc., it can include any person from anywhere in the list of offender. Another challenging feature is when it comes to cybercrime, not just cybercrimes against children, it's very hard to profile a victim and hard to profile an offender. So therefore, it has nothing to do with the age of the offender or age of the victim. Anyone is a potential victim or a potential offender when it comes to cybercrime. Last week, in fact, we've read in the newspaper as to how one of the previous DGP of the state had become victim of cybercrime. So anyone can become a victim of this crime. And that's why, so when it comes to children, it's more a concern. More a concern, not just because it's about crime that we're talking about, it's also about something that affects the potential development of a child. So UNICEF takes this very seriously as a concern and trying to address. In fact, WINIT works a lot for UNICEF's project. So that's because you don't just see it as an offense, we also see it as an issue of concern because it can affect the overall potential development of a child. And many times it's a challenge for law enforcement agencies because these are offenses committed on virtual space. So unless stakeholders do coordinate with the law enforcement agency, it would be very hard to detect, very hard to investigate. So we do know a lot of cases where maybe preventive measures could have been taken in a better manner had the intermediaries responded to the police request on time. That's also the reason why through the recent intermediary guidelines, Government of India is trying to impose more and more obligation on intermediaries. But the nature of obligations imposed on them, are they fair, reasonable, is anyway subject to debate. It's debatable, and some of them are pending before the courts. So I'll not get into that. But this is an indication of the fact that you need everyone to participate in achieving the objective. It can be the law enforcement agencies. It can be, most importantly, when it comes to cybercrimes, intermediaries. There have been a couple of cases where when courts had asked the social media platform to come up with remedies. So in fact, a lot of social media platforms assured that they would contribute towards ensuring online safety of children, including Facebook, Google, etc. Similarly, as soon as the intermediary guidelines came, so we could see how most of the social media platforms came up with remedies which are especially essential in the context of checking online abuse. So when they were asked to appoint compliance officer, though initially most of the social media platforms were hesitant, but later they did that. They did go ahead with the obligations that the intermediary imposed. They did fulfill this, but still there's a long way to go, because over here we're talking about an offense which is not just which is actually not contact offense, but it is content offense. Law framework is extremely wider. We have IT Act, we have POCSO, a lot of provisions are there. Some of them have already been dealt with. But the difficulty lies in actually regulating this, because often blocking illegal contents, especially as when it was mentioning, sexually abusive content is the a major concern. So blocking it again comes with a lot of challenges. So there are complexities within law. There is issue with the institutional framework also. So who has to do, how it has to be done is elaborated, dealt with under IT Act, the rules under IT Act, but practically implementing becomes extremely difficult, because end of the day, the access to justice to a common person is still not very easily available under the existing law framework. So therefore, challenges are many, and also the complex provisions in the law. So that's when I think judicial precedents, like what Justice has done, might help in better implementation of law, because there's like a lot of lacuna that existed, especially when it comes to implementation of law. So, how do you investigate? So is it like technically that the procedure, which is insisted in form of SOPs that you follow, or should you follow CRPC? A lot of dilemmas were there, but the reality is that it has to be a techno-legal measure, because here we're talking about issues of concern that needs to be addressed both by using technology as well as by using the legal remedies. Concerns of jurisdiction continues to be the one that affects the effective implementation of law. It's not just between countries, even between states, even between police stations. There are like a lot of issues that needs to be actually addressed. So maybe more need of coordinated efforts of law enforcement agencies. And again, investigation, since I said, should happen techno-legally. So that whole merger of technical procedure and legal procedure, unless takes place, it's very hard to get conviction. So we might on one hand see increase in the number of cyber crimes committed against children, but number of convictions are very less. That's because of challenges, which are many, including what I just mentioned. Also, the way you present evidence, you appreciate evidence, you produce evidence, you retain evidence. So all these are the concerns, and that's where forensic science is look towards for the remedies. So overall, we are here talking about crimes which at one point of time was considered as a virtual crime, victimless crime, but no, today it's become a reality. So, and over here, the victims are children, and that's the reason why we all should participate in ensuring that this space used by children are more safer, that is virtual space. So the role of schools, teachers, everything is already being focused upon, and the role of the family and the school especially, which they are supposed to play, is extremely crucial. For example, as Professor Nigam was mentioning, we do now have IT policy. And even before that, we did have our sexual harassment policy, which was so wide and comprehensive that we could even take care of online kind of issues or concerns that children and students could face. So maybe institutions like schools, colleges should come up with internal policies. And that can be a better way of ensuring that the atmosphere that we produce virtually or otherwise also, but through institutions, academic institutions, are safer. At the same time, maybe skits, street plays, etc. Can be remotes through which we can make children aware of, and that's again something that the schools can do. So all of us can definitely play an important role, because we are talking about the overall development of child. Let this attempt come today, and let us spread this message to everyone. Because end of the day, India has huge power, huge human resource. And India is, in fact, one of the best countries when it comes to, say, advancement in IT technology. So I over here quote our Prime Minister, who had once said that IT stands for, IT plus IT is equal to IT, especially in the Indian context. It stands for information technology plus Indian talent, which can make India tomorrow a better country to live in. So, which would also mean that we provide a space which is safer for children, be it on the online or on the offline domain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this informative information and your presentation. I think majority of the questions which we had in the chat box, I think ma'am has already covered up everything, and I think Vinit sir also have answered majority of the questions which were flowing from the first inaugural session itself. So thank you so much for answering all the answers which was there in the chat box. Now I would like to hand over to Ms. Shweta Kumari for vote of thanks. You're on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. If possible, if you feel free, could we still have questions, maybe from the audiences? I may also have maybe 1 or 2 questions myself.
Yeah, Shweta, you can take up.
We'll just take 2 questions. I think experts are
because we are running short of time.
Just 2 questions.
All right, maybe in that case, I'll expert my position as faculty coordinator and make use of this. All right, thank you so much, Nagarjuna. There are 2 questions. One question would be, it is maybe it's specific to Vinit sir. What we've seen that there was a time when the world had collaborated to bring international peace, when the world was colliding for the political and economic reason. Now the nature of the threat has actually changed from a conventional war game threat to the cyber crime and cyber war. So in such situations, how do we perceive for our prospect in terms of as a civil society to collaborate with to have international collaborations? Are there any plans in future to collaborate and to ensure to work upon the children's safety and the security?
Yes, you are right, ma'am. In fact, cyber is already now the 5th dimension of warfare other than land, air, sea, and space. And cyber is one space where you don't have boundaries. Like I was mentioning, the crimes may happen. It's not necessarily it may happen from within the country. It can be from any of the countries. Somebody sitting in a small garage room can kind of cause any kind of attack which can impact an individual to a large-scale organization, and also the government. So we are living in that era. So I feel it's not just the civil society, but everybody has a role to play. And normally people, when it comes to cybersecurity, people believe that it's the government's role purely. But as civil society, I feel it's everybody's role. As individual also, we have a role to play. As industry, we have a role to play. So all of us need to come together, probably on one platform, and kind of address the issue that the cyberspace is posing on us. And I feel there are a lot of positives about the cyberspace, a lot of positives today, because we are talking about issues. So we are just highlighting all the negativity that is there, but we must see all the positives that are there. And we are actually able to connect the unconnected. We are living in that era. So yes, everybody has a role to play, and civil society, again, I feel, and as highlighted by Honorable Justice Suraj Govindraj sir, in fact, everybody, think tanks and non-profits have a very strong role to play, because we kind of bring the data, in fact, the research data, the kind of advisory that comes in, and it's not just us, but international organizations also were there. We need to join hands together and kind of address the issue which is there in front of us. Over.
Thank you, sir. One last question. Because today's session has been in a consecutive form, every speaker after the other had actually covered what had been previously missed. So it was completely all encompassing. So one question is open to all, if anybody could answer from the panelists. There has been an increase in ransomware attack, some that has been maybe not mentioned, basically in the medical institutions and other emergency facilities abroad. So what precautions can the private Indian institution take to safeguard these services, their services from these ransom attacks?
Shall I answer, ma'am?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, what this is again coming through research, like our Cyber Peace Foundation is also part of the Global Ransomware Task Force. That's a setup where there are a lot of NGOs, antivirus cybersecurity companies, and also civil society organization, plus Interpol also is part of it. So what we have observed is majority of the attacks that happen is basically because of people who don't follow basic cybersecurity hygiene or cyber hygiene, if I may call it as. Like, for example, people use a pirated version of Windows. They don't use genuine version. People don't update their firmware or any kind of application that is there in your phone. Applying good password, a good password, like not just password like ABC123 or my name, something like that. So some basic practices or cyber hygiene, if you follow, whether it is about you, your phone, your gadget, or any of the IoT devices that is there in your home, whether it is Alexa's, whether it is any kind of devices, there are some basic cyber hygiene practices which are there available on our website. It is there on MIT's website. We just need to follow that and implement that. Within organization, if there are cybersecurity policies, policies should not be just on paper. It should be something that should be implemented at basic minimum. Actually, best practices should be implemented. And I would say 99% of the ransomware attacks you would be safe from. I mean, any kind of attacks will be safe.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Shweta, 1 second.
Yes.
Director Professor Rose Varghese wants to say something. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Professor. Rose, ma'am. Ma'am, you're on mute. Ma'am, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah, okay. The host was not permitting initially. No, I don't want to take much of your time. Most of the seminars and panel discussions all end up with just we thanking each other and parting. But just as Mr. Vineet just mentioned, quickly, let me tell you, I think this is only a beginning. And I would request Dr. Nagaratna and the Registrar of National Law School, let us as a team take this forward. I think we couldn't get better experts on the subject. Can this team still work forward? One, the fact that a whole range of cyber offenses have been discussed. So we have a team who are thorough with what's actually happening. So one, we work on prevention measures. Two, programs for sensitizing children and parents. Then the need to strengthen the investigation machinery, what we need to do for that. And more than everything, to work on a comprehensive legislation. Is it feasible? Justice Suraj and other experts, Mr. Arvind, do you think it's feasible if we as a team, we work on a comprehensive legislation, as Justice Suraj said, we had provisions, or you know, in the IT Act, in the few sections of the IPC, and Dr. Vineet told us about, Mr. Vineet told us about the Australia Act. It's an Online Safety Act of Australia. Something like that. Can we work out on a draft legislation and move it forward? Because if everyone leaves the job with someone else, it's never done. So today's panel discussion.
Let me come in here a minute.
Yeah.
Before we start on drafting a new legislation, what I would suggest is if the think tank would look at whether this could be bucketed under the existing legislations. It is more often than not that we jump the gun and get into a new legislation, which gives rise to its own problems, because then there's a conflict among various laws which is taken advantage of.
Okay.
In the existing laws, if any of the few more offenses came up today than what I knew about. So the offenses which have been pointed out by Mr. Vineet and Mr. Arvind, if they can be bucketed on a particular provision, like Mr. Arvind's presentation clearly said at the bottom, this would come under section so and so. That was very much well presented for us to understand as to which provision would apply. So if at the outset, if each of these offenses or each of these issues which have been identified could be seen whether it could be bucketed under, what are the ingredients to prove them, then work backwards towards what is the investigation to be done, and then the sensitization of it, because it is only after you know what is not to be done that the sensitization can happen. Instead of working forward, I would request you to work backwards to this.
I take it.
So if I add, I agree with Justice sir. So maybe again, repeatedly asking for changes in law. Instead of that, what we can easily do is, maybe come up with a handbook or a manual. And I'm sure Vineet would agree that Cyber Peace Foundation, along with NLSIU and MS Ramaiah, we can come up with this compendium, and we will draw for the expert use by Arvind sir, Justice sir. So we can come up with a book which will also have a better advanced SOP, so that it is practically implementable, again from both technological perspective. Maybe that's something that we can commit for, ma'am, from our side. Yeah, Vineet.
I also feel the same, ma'am, and I completely agree with you. We already have our act in place. IT Act, probably this is something we just needs a version 2, and we could kind of imbibe some good points from the acts that are there, and kind of the existing act could be empowered there. So we could kind of do this study, and as jointly Cyber Peace Foundation with NLSIU and with the Ramaiah College of Law, we can come together and kind of do it, and also get some other experts also on board, like Mr. Arvind and others who can contribute to it. So, yeah.
So, certainly, sir, I would go by the words of Honorable Justice. Sir, apart from the provisions what we have already understood and also being used, and we normally trouble Nagaratna ma'am and other legal experts, and they used to help us with the other citations, other case laws of some other high courts, because we are not privy to those case laws readily. So this type of interaction is already there, and if it is, as Professor Vagis ma'am says, and if it can be made as a forum, and I am ready to be a part of it and work together, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I think now, as we have already heard the concluding remarks, I think it's the time for our words of gratitude, which I request Shweta Kumari, who is an assistant professor of political science, Ramaiah College, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nita ma'am. Our most valued invited guest, Honorable Mr. Justice Suraj Govindraj, Judge of High Court of Karnataka. Respected Dr. Nigam Nugahalli, Registrar, NLSIU. Our distinguished panelist, Dr. Nagaratna, Coordinator of Advanced Center for Research, Development and Training in Cyber Law and Forensic in NLSIU. Mr. Arvind S., Deputy Commissioner of Police, Tripura, Tamil Nadu. Mr. Vineet Kumar, founder and president, Cyber Peace Foundation, New Delhi. I, on behalf of our center, Patron-in-Chief, Professor Dr. Rose Verghese, Director Academics, and our patron, Dr. Om Prakash, Principal in Charge, RCL, Dr. Anita Patil, the moderator of today's event, as well as the faculty coordinator of the center, and on my behalf as well, extend a vote of thanks and to our invited guests for gracing the event with their presence. And also, I would extend my thank to the distinguished panelists for the keynote speakers for providing the audiences with their valuable inputs with specific research and findings, as well as on-field work experiences and their expert opinions given today. I would like to reiterate and stress extending thank you to Dr. Raghunath ma'am again for collaborating with us and suggesting such an all-encompassing panelist. It's such a diverse panelist for this session, and the session topic has been excellently covered. And I would also like to thank the attendees, the students, the faculties, the parents, and in fact, the research scholar and the advocates have also joined for taking interest in this session and putting up important questions, though most of them could not be covered due to the shortage of time. But thank you for the question. I hope through their sessions, the questions were already addressed. Above all, I would also like to thank our director again, Dr. Rose ma'am, and our principal Om Prakash sir, our faculties for their support and guidance. And lastly, well, not to be worrying about the technical aspects of the session, and rather because we were engaged in the listening as well as in the discussion part, I would like to give my special thank to one of the students volunteer, Mr. Sudesh, second year, who was handling the Zoom platform and to let the sessions go smoothly. So thank you, Sudesh, and thank you, everybody.
Just to add, I'm glad to also note that we have Mr. Vimaladitya, who's working in the National Police Academy, who's very passionate about working on this field. So we appreciate your presence, sir, and we also appreciate the presence of Shirish, IPS officer from Maharashtra Police Academy, a lot of other police officers too. Thank you so much for making this event very, very meaningful with your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, one and all. Have a nice day.
Everybody.